Let's go. Hey guys, thank you for joining us for another exciting episode of Yoml. This is the year of entrepreneurial learning. We are on reflection 223, and today, following up on the part 3 of 5 reflection. This is actually related, but it's not the same book. It's something about some theory of happiness that Chris have uncovered. So I'm excited to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, no, this is a totally different book. So this is a brief history of time by Stephen Hawking. So I think we all know I think we've probably all heard of it. Like this is Stephen Hawking, the guy in the wheelchair that talks like has the robot voice that had MS, like or Lou Gehrig. I think he has Lou Gehrig's disease, right? Or yeah. This is his landmark volume in science writing by one of the greatest minds of our time, and Stephen Hawking, as he explores such profound questions as how did the universe begin and what made it possible? Does time always flow forward? Is the universe unending? Are there boundaries? Are there dimensions in space? Blah 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 blah. Right? It's a brief history of time. As told by the world famous Professor Stephen Hawking. And like I'll tell you what. So the reflection title of this one is My Grand Unified Theory for Happiness, which is M multiplied by
Work and relationship.
No, I'm not going to tell you that multiplied by W plus R to the infinity power.
Oh,
I
to
didn't
the
know
infinity power. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I didn't know how to like write infinity power on there, so I just wrote the little
Just put
infinity symbol.
a carrot.
I couldn't. I don't know why I couldn't put it in there. It was. I don't know.
Oh,
Anyway.
when you do a carrot.
Yeah. So here goes the reflection. Here's my grand unified theory of happiness. So because I didn't understand any of this book, I mean, like I'm not gonna lie, like I mean I was like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Like I mean this stuff was so abstract that I was like, I think I'm following along, and I'm so worried about talk about your elephant in your rider. Like I could not process what he was saying. The words that were coming out of his mouth, he was literally speaking a different language than what I was, the language
Yep.
that I'm aware of. And I was like, I don't think, as I started off this reflection, I was like, look, this is cool stuff. I really appreciate how imaginative, physicists are, and they're incredible with being able to try to make sense of the world, and the ways that they try to make sense of things they'll never touch or see or whatever, and it's pretty incredible. That said, I was like, at the end of this book, I was like, all that just flew right over my head, and I don't want to go. I would need to like read this book like 100 times for me to understand, damn near anything that he was talking about. So it made me think about like, instead of writing about a reflection about what I've learned from this book, I was like, I'm gonna write a reflection about the universe that I've been exploring, that I'm still trying to perfect, which is the universe of me, of Chris, for the past 2.5 years, right? So I was gonna I did learn a little bit from this book, meaning there were some universal principles of the universe, I guess some universal principles that he talked about that I thought might help us on this conversation to help figure out my grand unified theory of happiness. And law number 1 is the universe is always in motion. Per this book, the universe is always in motion, so it's always it appears to start it off in an ordered state, and is moving from order, like i.e. the Big Bang, to disorder. It's just slowly, moving into a disordered state, like things are spreading, right? The elements that bring life as we know it, per this book, can only exist when the universe is going from order to disorder. So when the universe is expanding and things are slowly, moving into a disorder state. And then finally, at some point in time, it will reverse, and it'll go from moving from order to disorder to moving back from disorder to order. I don't know when that'll happen. It'll be maybe hundreds of billions of years in the future. I have no idea. I don't know that anybody knows that, but the theory is that it will. That's the universal laws that underlie the universal laws, right? Like of time and motion and space and things like that, right? So you're still with me? I don't know if these are new to you,
Yeah.
but all right. So what I found interesting was for the whole universe, for life to exist, for us to even be here, the moving from order to disorder is what creates life, right? And then you flip that around to humanity, And like we are the exact opposite of that. Like we love to take disorder and turn it into order, right? Like that is like for whatever weird reason, like our we are just our talk about our beaver mustang, our elephants, like we are obsessed with taking disorder and turning it into order in this world. And yet the whole universe is going the opposite direction, and that's the elements that are needed for life to even happen in the first place. So it made me start to think. Stephen Hawking would talk about these. They distill down all these really immense, complex things that are going on into like like science and math are great, and physics are a great example of how humans take disorder and turn it into order. Right? We turn them into algorithms and these grand unified theories, and we try to explain the universe through us making order out of it. Right? And I thought it would be a fun exercise to take these universal principles, to apply them to the universe of Chris, and to try to bring order to disorder with my grand unified theory of happiness. So I thought about, in the universe of Chris, what are the main things that are always in a state of constant motion and expanding, that are always in disorder. And for me, it made me think about emotions, right? Like I feel like humans' emotions are that completely disordered state. Like they're all over the place. We don't really know where they come from or where they're going, but like they're just in this state of disarray at all times, right? So for us to bring order to our emotions, we have to have some sort of a grand unified theory in order to bring order state, which is of our emotions, which is happiness, versus disordered state of our emotions, which is depression, anxiety, sadness, right? If our emotions are scattered all over the place and we don't know how to make sense of them at all, like typically it leads to something bad. If we can bring order to them, typically we call that, I feel like, happiness, maybe, potentially. I mean, maybe that's the word of, an ordered state of our emotions, is maybe happiness. So all that said, are you ready for the grand unified theory of
wait.
happiness? Right. So here it goes. So and you already got that right. My grand unified theory for happiness, H stands for happiness, which equals meaning, and the M stands for meaning, times work, and also times relationships to the infinity power, to represent that the work never ends, because we just always keep doing that, right? But now you ask, meaning, what is meaning necessarily? So I feel like meaning can be broken down a little bit further to say meaning equals V, or V stands for values, and multiply that times A, which stands for activities, and P, which stands for people. So then to get meaning, you have to take your values and apply that to the activities you do and the people that you're around, and you will find meaning, which then you can take back to go apply to the work that you do and the broader relationships you try to build. And therefore, you get my grand unified theory of taking order or taking my disordered emotions and moving it into an ordered state to be able to ultimately find happiness. And that is my universe of Chris, laws of happiness. So grand unified theory. Anyway, I'll pause there. Love to hear your thoughts.
It's very interesting. I mean, meaning is equal to values multiplied by activity plus people.
Yeah.
Okay, I can get that. Activity plus people. Activity with people times value.
If you're doing your values with people,
what is value multiplication of activities and people represent? I understand activity plus people is doing activity with people surrounded by your value, right?
That represents meaning. So meaning.
Right. I'm trying to actually plug in the formula,
right,
and to get meaning, because so I know how to do activities, right? Just pick the activities, with the people, which is a plus. Plus is with, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
The multiplication is what I'm trying to figure out how to multiply the value. How do we multiply the value with activity we do with people?
Well, you have to take a value. So like if one of your values is play or learning, then you multiply learning times what activities you do to learn plus the people you do it with is how you get meaning. So you learn with you learn with this activity and you learn with
Right. And when I understand that, but my question will be, why do you multiply value times A plus P and not value plus A plus P? That's the question.
Well, I'm not a mathematician, and I
That's
was doing, and I was, and I don't know the answers to any of this. I was joking around, I guess, kind of, half, sort of, when I was
well, but
going.
that's what I'm saying is, I mean, like I say, I can get that. Like when you do the activities with the
Right,
people, right? Activity plus people is you do the activity with people. That's
right,
straightforward, right?
right.
The multiplication is what does that represent? I'm trying to figure that out. But if like I
Well,
say,
then,
it could
is it division then? Is it multiplication? Is it
it
some
cannot be
other?
division. It
Yeah,
cannot be
yeah.
division.
You can't.
Okay, division you have
Well,
to take away.
you're spreading your values over because your values have to align to both the activities and the people for in order for it to be meaningful, I think.
Well, okay, let me ask you this then. Why don't you do A plus B to the power of A of V?
Okay, that
Right?
works. Yeah.
Well, no, you have to justify why you do it. I'm
Uh,
asking you.
no, I mean it makes sense. I mean, I already kind of know. Go ahead. Yeah, explain. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to I'm trying to understand the reason why you do the multiplication versus the power of, because the power is exponential. Okay,
Right.
even though a v is a multiplication, but it's a linear. So for me, based on that particular um, piece of the exponential, because we're talking about the compound effect, right? Compound
Right.
effect is like 1 plus 1, right? It doesn't go in a straight line because you have v. V is basically the slope, right? V is always linear. When you multiply by a constant, right, a value, that value is always going to give you a straight line, not a
Oh,
parabolic
oh, all right.
curve, right?
Fair enough.
So you're
Yeah.
going to have to do a plus b to the power of v.
Okay. I mean,
Uh,
I agree.
I'm
I
sorry,
mean,
I'm just a nerd.
no. I mean, no, I agree. I understand exactly what you're saying, and you're right. So that makes more
because
sense. Yeah.
to me, when you do the activity that is up, that is the core of your, you are exponentially expounding your value, your meaningful result. We have an exponential result because
Mhm.
it's going when you do more of the, because like if you do the a plus b once, right, it's gonna give you one time. It's gonna give you, like, if you go to twice, it's gonna give you four times.
Right.
It's going to be exponential. So the meaningful you get is compounding. It's not a linear,
I agree.
right?
I
So you
totally agree.
have
It
to
makes
do the
more sense.
power
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
v
Yeah.
to get the, so that to me.
How do I
And
write that down? Can I actually edit this? And how do I do to the power of, I don't even know how to write that in like
can you
a
do a simple script,
what?
or do a carrot, a hat?
A hat. Let's see here. Where is that?
It's shift 6.
Shift 6. Oh, there it is. Oh, Jesus. How did you know that? Okay. And then do what?
Do a v, and then you move the v from the front.
Oh, so that means that's how you draw that? Because it usually just is like a little tiny V at the top, like
Right, you can do superscript. You do that
oh,
because, but if you can't, the carrot, the hat is what you do. So
right. Oh,
meaning,
yeah.
okay,
Fair enough.
now go back to the other formula. So you have two part, right?
Right. Oh,
Is it the same formula? Is it a system of equation, or are we talking about
no,
two,
meaning was just further broken down, so you take the meaning from
the
here
meaning? Okay.
and then you add that to the happiness hypothesis or the happiness
Well,
equation.
so the thing is, with the meaning I get, with the happiness I don't understand. So
Well, that's meaning
the
being spread out over work and the relationships you have.
but isn't that activities and people?
No, because activities isn't necessarily meaningful work. Like, I could
Okay, fine,
do
fine. Okay.
I could do,
So
I
let,
could do
let
stuff with people, but that doesn't mean that it's a meaningful relationship either. So I'm
no,
saying
no, no. It's not
yeah,
meaningful relationship because it's work and relationship. That's stand alone by itself,
right.
right? It only become meaningful work if you multiply the meaning for
Right.
by the work and relationship. So the question I'm trying to figure it out is, how do you define work and relationship? Are they the normal work and relationship that we see now today?
No, that's a good question. I would say work is really more defined as kind of your art. Your
But
yeah.
that's what I'm saying is it's kind of already
Work
um
isn't really the word, but
it's already like already in the equation of A and P.
kind of
Because let's say that, because the thing is, if you think about equations or system of equations, right? So let's say you define meaning. Meaning is, a plus b to the power of v. That's meaning you
mhm,
plug that in. So a plus ap to the power of v, right?
right.
Multiplied by work plus relationship in parentheses, right? The question is, how do you define work? Like you define meaning.
Right. Yeah.
How do you define a relationship? Because, like I say, are you defining as the regular what we see? Because work by itself, it's just work. It's normal work.
That's
It's
that's a,
not
that's a,
meaningful
that's
work.
that's a good point. So then we would have to further break down. I like that. We'd have to further break down what work is in an equation
Because I
and
can't use
relationships
it
and
if I can't
right.
understand
Yeah. No, that
it.
no. All right, so that's fair. So like then we have to define what work is, So what would you define work as? Like if you were gonna have to put that into a grand unified theory of how would you define meaningful work, if you
Because
had to
I think the meaningful work, right? Because the thing, when you say meaning times work and relationship, I think
right.
that's already it's already part of the a plus p to the v power of v equation already. Because it's not the same, but it's
No,
included in it. So
sort
subset
of.
of the equation is already in the work. So
See, like okay,
meaning,
here's the thing is I can play tennis and I can and my values can be multiplied by tennis and with the people that I play tennis with. But that does not mean that those are meaningful work and meaningful relationships. That just means that I find meaning in tennis. Now I can take whatever those skills are that I or in whatever, and maybe I apply that toward this. A lot of the stuff that we talk about are things that I've learned playing tennis with other people and through that activity and with other people that I play that with. But those people aren't necessarily meaningful relationships, and or
but that
tennis
that
isn't
means you're
necessarily
gonna have
meaningful
to
work.
distill the work out. Let's say you have like,
Right.
because the meaning I get, right? Meaning means you just do the activities with the people that aligns to your value. Okay,
Right.
that's like, hey, I play tennis regardless
I find meaning
of,
in playing tennis. I don't
right.
know
So
what,
so so
yeah.
so when you define the work that is part of meaningful, you're gonna have to actually distill it out. So you have to take
You
out,
know
not
what? Meaning,
multiply.
meaning the work needs to be purpose plus. It needs to have something about purpose in it. Like the meaning for work to be meaningful,
Right.
it needs to
But
be
I
purpose
think I think
driven.
the equation needs to be, like I said, we need to define what it is, because you
Yeah.
can't tell me to do work, because for me is, I get the meaningful. Now I still don't know how to plug in the work, right? Meaning, as a person, how do I use a formula?
I agree. I mean, I think work should be for sure further broken down to something that's like
Well,
work
we're
equals
gonna have to
purpose
define it.
plus well, it equals purpose plus meaning. I think.
But you already defined meaning.
No, I know. I'm saying work equals. Oh, sorry, sorry. Work equals purpose plus values. Maybe is that it? No.
No, but you already have values in meaning.
Yeah, I know. So work equals purpose.
So you either do a system of equations, or you have to do you have to distill the work and the relationship to a point where you can
Right.
multiply and add them together to get the ultimate uh, result, which is the happiness that you want.
Right. Well, we need to bring order to our disordered emotions. So maybe
Well, I don't think that's part of it. You trying to solve the problem of the the ratio between disorder and order, meaning the
balance
the
is that was that it is
yeah,
balance.
the balance.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to find the equation for balance in a way, and
Okay.
you defining with this. You can't really take that, because it's already defined in it. So you
Interesting.
can't, because otherwise you have what we call an infinite loop because it referencing itself,
So
right?
how would you incorporate balance into this equation? Is it divided by balance,
Mm,
and balance
no, no,
broken
no.
down by, another equation?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know how to define that. I'm just trying to understand what you wrote. I mean, I'm impressed with what you had so far. I just need to figure it out, or I need to get you
Elaborate, help
to.
me. Yeah,
I'm
help me.
trying. I'm trying.
Yeah.
I just don't know what work has to do with
Let's work it out. What is
happiness.
what like, well, so for me to be happy, I need meaningful work. I need work. I like work makes us happy.
Well, I don't think it's the word work that I maybe the word work confuses me because for me, I can understand activity and people, and to me,
How
that's
about this?
work in a way.
How about this? How do I describe how do I describe clubbing? How do I describe this? Is this work? No, it's not work.
It's
But
not work; it's activities,
well, but it's not. This is a purpose-driven activity that you and I do every single night.
right? Because it's
This
multiplied
isn't
by
like
multiplied by the value. Because
yeah, but
activity by itself,
tennis is a meaningful activity for me, but it is not a purpose-driven activity. There's a difference.
well, it's still meaningful to you.
Oh, I didn't say that tennis isn't meaningful to me. I'm saying
That's
tennis
why I'm
isn't
saying. That's why I say I
but
understand the equation M is equal to A plus P to the power of V. I understand that because it applies to company, applies to tennis, applies to whatever that we like to do,
yeah, I mean,
right? Because
yes, yes,
it has meaning to us. That's why we want to do it. That's why it energizes us to do it.
right.
Now,
And then
the
if you
question is how do we
it,
define the word work? And maybe the happiness equation is not quite finalized because maybe work isn't part of the equation.
well, it's not maybe not the word. Maybe I mean, we talked about this
Like I
now
say, the
for
word
probably
work,
the better part of
it
two
kind of
fucking
stuck.
years,
Like,
of like what we get stuck on the words work, like, and we're like, well, we both know what we're trying to we need to invent a new word for work,
well, I think
for what we mean by it, the idea of what we're talking about.
because I think like if you take meaningful work, it's gonna equals the activity times value, to the power of value. Okay, and
Right.
and
Well,
and and
yeah.
relationship is equal to people to the value to the power of value by itself. That's what I think. But then you have
I
meaning.
disagree. That's what I'm saying. I disagree because activities and people does not equal meaningful work and meaningful relationships. Like, even if those activities are things that relate to your values, that does not mean that they are meaningful. They're meaningful. That does not mean that those individual broken down activities and people are meaningful by themselves on their own merit. Like meaning has to be spread out over, and there has to be meaning plus what you're doing and the people you're around. Like, that has to be meaningful for them too, for it to be a meaningful relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right, right.
it
I
has
understand.
to be and it has to be purpose has to be a part of this in somewhere.
Yeah, and I think the equations could be more complicated than that if you take
Right.
it from that perspective as well. Because what I think is, on the surface is meaning equals A plus B to the power of V. Happiness is meaning to the power of infinity. That's what I think. And it's gonna be missing some stuff because like you're right, meaningful work isn't just about activity with people to the values, right? So it has to because it has to distill from. Let's say you do 10 things, right? With
Mm-hmm.
it's around the activity and the people to the value, but then it's not automatically make that meaningful work. It doesn't
Right.
not automatically make it meaningful relationship because other people have to also see it as meaningful to them as well. So the
Exactly.
equation is missing that other piece, other variable.
Agreed. So what's the missing ingredient?
So you're gonna have to do the to the end part. You know how to do the factorial?
No, I don't.
So it's going to get complicated. But I think that's going to be beyond the discussions for our audience. I mean, I think we may have lost them in the first five
Well,
minutes
no,
of
no.
this
I mean,
discussion.
it's fun. It's fun to work through it. I mean, I'm not a mathematician. Like, I mean, I was joking when I wrote this, obviously, like because it was not
Right,
like
but I think to be more aligned with be more logical, even though it's not entirely correct.
right.
Meaning is equal to, in my mind, is equal to activity plus people to the power of value. Okay,
I think we both agree on that for sure. I think
and
we can
and
find
and and
meaningful.
happiness is equals to meaning or divide by something to distill the meaning out to the power of infinity. So right now, if we only have one perspective,
It's got to always
that
be meaningful.
meaning that,
What?
but that's what I'm saying. We're missing something. But if we said
Yeah.
let's discard the other thing for now, let's only focus on a single perspective right now. Meaning over one to the power of infinity. Therefore, happiness is equal to meaning to the power of infinity with the current perspective we have. If you add it into other people, then you have to do the underlining, because you have to distill the meaning to that it fits both you and the other person.
Right.
So that
And same thing with the work too. I mean, the work
the
has to fit.
denominator
Right.
has to be some meaningful work and relationship that is only specific and common to the both to all the parties involved.
Correct.
So that would be the X factor.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, so that's not that. Yes.
So
I
right
think
now, right
I think
right
you and
now
I
we
need to
have
workshop
right
this.
now we
outside.
have this we have meaning divided by question mark to the power of infinity. We just need to figure out what question mark is.
There you
And
go.
that can be difficult. But let's leave it at that for now. I think we geeked out too much.
Well, I mean, what do you think about the any of the other elements? Like
Yeah.
the
So to
emotional.
me, the thing is, in the universe, there's always pros and cons. In the universe, there's always balance. When there is disorder, there has to be a order for you to have a disorder. You
That's
cannot
interesting.
have you cannot have when if you say the universe is expanding, right? Well, where is it expanding from,
I don't know.
right? So what I'm saying is there always have to be a balance. When you have a matter, there always have to be an anti-matter. They
Well, you
cannot
just
exist one without the other. When you have darkness, you will have light. Light and
right,
darkness. It's the existence or the absence of something, right?
right.
So
That's
if you look at our universe as a fractal, and if you know what I'm talking about when I say fractal, right?
sort of not a ton,
So
but
fractal
yeah,
is like its children. It's like its parent, like a tree. A
right.
tree,
Okay.
right? A branch looks like a tree,
Yep.
and a smaller branch looks like a tree. It's a fractal. That means like the small parts
Right.
has the resemblance of its
I remember something
parents and
about this.
ancestors. So this
Wait,
is fractal.
that was in some book we read. Was that in Black Swan or something?
I'm not
It
sure.
was. I think it was in one of the Taleb books. He was talking about was it Poincaré or whatever? Poincaré, is he the dude that does like the factorials? Or I'm talking out my ass with this stuff because like is it Poincaré, I believe.
Because basically a fractal is like a repeating patterns of its ancestors, right? And because the thing is, it's harder to explain because when people talk about fractal, they're talking about like shapes and geometrics and all that.
Right.
But fractal is nothing more than a pattern that repeats itself in the smaller part, because the smaller part has exact pattern as the bigger part,
Right.
right? So if you take that concept of fractal, that means that the universe is going to behave just like you and me. Meaning, right, in life, we always have disorder, but in order for this order to happen, there has to be a order. So in order for something to decompose, it has to compose first
Right.
to decompose, right?
Correct.
So
Yep.
for us, the way we see things in our life, in our small universe. Like your small universe is a representation of the big universe,
Mhm.
right? When you say the big universe is going to be always expanding, the our universe is a representation of it, and it behaves exactly like it. It's just in a smaller scale. It's just a
Right.
scale of it. So that's what fractal is. And so when
Oh,
you
that
look
makes sense.
at our small universe, right? We have always been this expanding there. I mean, we go into chaos, right?
Mhm.
But the thing is, when you look at our life, it comes as a
There's a balance to the disorder, moving it into
yeah.
order,
So the thing is,
and it's where you get a
in
life
the
forms.
beginning,
Yeah.
we compose. So for you to have this, the heart, the arms, the eyes, whatever, it is composing. It's just
Right.
not
Yeah.
disorder,
Right.
right? So it composing and it's growing. So it is composing. So they're always composer and decomposers,
Hmm.
right? And
Yep.
so in we as a human, we are a composer. So we are like we make babies, right? Our babies actually composing its other elements into the shape of a human,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
then it's slightly to start to that disperse and become chaos, and then you start to get older and you wither away and you die. And but you there's a cycle. There's always that balance. So
Right.
you cannot have one without the other. So
Yep.
when you look at the our universe that we can see and study in a smaller scale, it represents the bigger scale because we understand that the universe works in fractal.
So do you think that happiness means that we are in an ordered state in our own universe? If you called it the universe of your metaphysical universe, like if is happiness an ordered state or a disordered state, or is it a balanced state?
It's a balanced state. It's not it to me.
It's a good point. I mean, yeah, because it doesn't. Yeah.
If you are a I mean you
No, I actually think you're right. I don't think happiness is like if it's pure order, like then we're just like it's boring, you know. If it's got to have that healthy mix of disorder and order to keep us, you know, keep us guessing a little bit and keeping us engaged all the time, right? Like I mean, I think when you tip
it's a transition.
yeah,
It's a transition because the thing
right.
is you think about how I keep saying that, you know, we always want the next step. It's always about the progress because I keep saying, hey, okay, you want to go on vacation. What do? You hurry up and pack,
Right.
right? And then you go hurry up, go to the airport. And once you get to the airport, you go hurry up and go on an airplane. You go on an airplane and you hurry up and take off, right? And when you take off, then you go on vacation, hurry up and pack, go home. But then when you're in the airplane, you want to take off, and when you're on the airplane, that's fine.
Right.
You want to want to open it, right?
Right.
You want the next step. It's like you, it's not it's not a stern state that you want. It's the ability to jump to the next state. It's in the cycle of balance.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
you
Yeah.
think about it, like I said, you know, I may not say this, you know, in
So
the best way, but we are
maybe this needs to
anxious.
change, by the way. Instead of happiness, it needs to be balance equals meaning times work plus relationships. Because anyway, yeah, sorry. Go ahead, keep going.
Because you know you understand what I'm saying is we never want to be at one state, right? Because
Right.
when like I said, you know, when you want to be when you're on an airplane, you want the next thing. Hey, hurry up and get there, right? And then when you go on your vacation, you know, you want to hurry up and go back home. So you all if they tell us what do you want? It's not the state that you want. The
Hmm.
state is the ability to do the next step. So it's always this motion. So the number one is the universe is always in motion because of that property.
Right.
The property is that it's not the happiness is driven by the ability to jump to the next state, but the state is always in a cyclical,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's
right?
always yeah. Yeah.
It's cyclical because you keep jumping around. That's why it keeps going motion
Yeah.
because so it's not a linear. It's always in a circular motion. And so that's
Yeah. Makes
what
sense.
that fuels the universe to be in motion. And I think having the balance, right, having the order to the disorder and vice versa, that that creates the engine of the universe. The universe
Right.
runs on that.
Yeah. I mean I can't argue with that. I mean honestly, like this stuff that I wrote down here, like like these were principles that I heard in this book that I was like, okay, I can at least understand that. But when they started talking about shit that was like, you know, like black holes and whatever, and like how things, I'm like, it's almost like a fantasy land that I mean, that's like an imagination. That's
Well, like I
somebody
said, you
that's like
have to
Buddhism,
take
you know.
the factual perspective in order to understand that, because you don't see what's its grand perspective in the universe. So you have to take our universe, for example. How does life work? Right? You can't say, well, if you say everything is going from a order to a disorder, well, where did the order came from?
I don't know. I mean, what did order
But
come
if
from?
you look
I
at
don't know.
life, right? You look at life, we are going to the order. But when you are first born, right? You came from nothing. You came from disorder to order, because there is a system that creates order, and then
Right.
it moved to a system that creates disorder.
Yeah.
We as a human being is able to birth a child, to create a child from all of the nutrients and elements that we put together, right? We
Right.
eat the elements, and all of these disorder elements, it is fusing in to form a human being.
Yeah, no,
How
it's
that's not
pretty
disorder.
remarkable. I mean,
That's not this. That's his order. That's his.
I agree.
So there is a system that creates order, and there's a system that creates disorder. But the state goes from an order to a disorder to an order. It basically passed back and forth. The object, for the object to transform inside of a order system, the disorganized elements and atom, it is fusing to form an object. And then once the object gets out of the system of order, the system of disorder takes over and transform the object into a disorder state, meaning we turn to dust.
For sure. I can't remember the exact. Do you remember the is it like 1 in 400 trillion the odds of us existing or something like that? Is that
Probably
it?
more than that.
I think it. Oh no, 1 in 400 quadrillion is what it is. Sorry,
Mhm.
I just looked that up. Yeah, yes. So it's like the odds of us, all that life coming together to form, a life form from bringing order to disorder is 1 in 400 quadrillion. I don't even know what a quadrillion is, but like, isn't that kind of crazy?
It's crazy. But like I say, there always have to be a balance, because I'm saying is, all I see is in the things and in the environment I can see. Everything has its balance, has its purpose, has its
Mhm.
place. And
Until it doesn't.
it's always about the 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 movement, the motion of one state to the next state. That's what makes us happy,
Right.
right? Because the thing is, sometimes, because right now, let's say I don't talk to you, okay? Okay, I want to talk to you because I missed the goofing off conversation that we have, and then
Right.
when I talk to you too much, hey, it's way too exhausting. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Yeah.
so the thing is, it, but the thing is not about having one state or another state. It's having transitioning. It's a transitioning is that we want. So I think
So
going back to what I'm saying is happiness is always having the ability for the motor, the engines to run. If the engine doesn't run, then you don't have happiness, regardless of where you are.
So I mean I know I was joking with this equation, but I mean we can keep working on this if you want to, because I agree. I think putting like motion and like movement from a state of it could
And
be I don't know how to make it
this is where the infinity comes in, because you don't have a circular motion, and infinity
right.
can't exist because eventually it's gonna hit the end,
Right.
right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
So
it's got to come back at that point,
so it
Yeah.
has to loop. It has to loop somewhere. That's why
Right.
if you continuously going to go in infinity cycles, right? It has to loop, and otherwise it's not possible. It has to end somewhere. Nothing can be endless unless it is in a circular motion, and nothing can be constant
Agree.
motion unless it's in the cycles.
I think you're onto something. I think you need to. I'm not even joking. I think that you need to go sit down and take what we did with this initial first pass and then use your math brain on it, because Like, and I'm happy to like. I think
I
we
mean,
should. I think we should keep.
this is me
Yeah.
being the elephant. I don't think about it. I just
Right.
talk about it.
Right. Like
So,
this. Yeah. This is beyond the from. I can talk to you about the concepts of these things,
but
but
that's the
put it
thing is
into an algorithm.
without
Not
talking and discussing. I mean, I wouldn't be able to give you any of my opinions that you
right.
know. But then if you give me this task, I mean, for me, it's not meaningful.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's still activity plus the people,
Hmm.
right? Activity times the value, but it doesn't have the people. Therefore, it's not meaningful relationship.
Agreed.
Because
Yeah.
to me, in order for me to do this, I have to discuss it with you
Yeah.
for me
I
to
mean,
come. Because otherwise,
and I want to discuss it with
I,
you.
I
Yeah.
can't I can't take it and go, okay, this is my homework. I do it. For some
No, no,
reason,
no. I agree. I'm not saying do this by yourself. I'm saying like I don't know the algorithms, the math equations, the that language. I don't speak the language of math, right? Like so I can't take it any further than what I did on here. You know, because like I was joking anyway with this equation, but I'm actually kind of curious to see like if you were to actually try to put an equation around it, like what would
I
that look
mean,
like?
there gotta be some mathematician whiz out there that can probably
Right.
do that for us because that's what they do. They're being doing their own elephant thing,
Right. Yeah.
beaver on
Let
purpose.
them
It's
geek out, you know.
probably effortless for them.
Right. Yes. When they can translate the words and the sentiments and the concepts of what we're talking about into an algorithm, you know? I mean that's really what it
Yeah, but
is, right?
at the end of the day, I think having the ability to distill it to something basic that we can do, like I said, it's about doing the activity with the people that aligns with your value. That is something I can understand and I can put into practice,
Right. Yeah, I no,
regardless
I agree.
whether
Yeah.
formulas. I mean, the formula is gonna give you a much easier understanding of how to implement these formula and concept, and that's why the formula exists.
So we can find, in my opinion, I think my therapist may have told me this one time. She was like, and she was talking to a lot of I remember her saying something about like she works on with a lot of her patients finding meaning in any activities and in anything that you're doing like by like and I actually agree with that, but I challenged her back and I was like, but you can't find purpose in every activity. Like that's a totally different animal, like just because something is meaningful does not mean it aligns to your purpose. Now I think doing a whole lot of things that are all meaningful, that ultimately all roll up to like it's like if you took this equation, the meaning equation, and you somehow you know multiply that by that by that by that by that, that all equals like a aggregate compound effect
Mm-hmm.
purpose, right? Like you know what I mean? Because you could take this activity plus 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 these people plus these people plus these people, roll that all up into whatever your purpose is,
I
right?
mean, you gonna need like 3 or 4 boards in the size of the university chalkboard that
Right,
to in
right,
order
right,
to come up with a like a simple formula like E equal mc squared.
right.
Because E equal mc squared is a very very simple formula.
Ah,
But I asked you, how do you implement that?
we talked about this, like because like it probably took Einstein a decade and a whole lot and three, like
More
we
than a
said, like
decade.
right, more than like it's taken us 3 years and 300 books to get to this point in time where we're jokingly saying m equals a plus p to the v to the you know what I mean, like I mean it's funny, but at the same time it's profoundly simple, but at the same time like it's not
But
been
it's still
easy to get to
difficult
that.
because, like
Yeah,
I
it's
said,
you're right.
if you know the E energy is equal to mass times the speed of light time square, but how do you put it into practice?
I don't know. Yes,
Exactly.
you should make another equation for C equals
What
was
is
it
C?
C equals cake equals 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 something. It's got to be something that E energy times act well energy that you get from activities and the people you surround yourself with that has to be around aligned to value.
No, it's supposed to be E equals cake C
Oh,
times
sorry.
something, right?
Right.
Minus something, right? Because you have to
That's right.
times something and minus some kind of a willpower or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Minus
But
plus
no,
willpower.
minus one frog, minus F frog. Okay. Yeah, no, that'd be pretty funny to try to do. Yeah. All right. I think I think my brain is fried for the night. Physics makes my head hurt whenever we start talking about this stuff. So all right, I'm gonna tap out. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I just I think we're getting better at defining a lot of the things, the concept that we dish out. So I think it's a step forward.
Yeah, I agree. It's fun. I mean, it's like these are all fun and games, but at the same time, it's not. It's also purpose driven. So it's always never. It's always fun, but also at the same time, it's always work. But we don't know what we're gonna call that work as because it's
That's why I
also
say it's
fun.
work is if I have to do because someone
Right.
else tell me to do it. It's
So
play
then,
when I want to do it.
we need to figure. I mean, true. We have to figure out a word that means what we're saying. Like, I mean, we really do. I mean, I really think that this is important for us to like even we have to understand because I know that we understand what we're saying, but we can't always say, well, it's work, but it's not this, and it's play, but it's not that. You know what I mean? But like it's got to be
We're
something
gonna
that
have to make up another word.
yeah, no, we gotta make another fucking word. Like
Remember that word you gave me? What was that word? The Viking, the German word. Umwelt,
yeah,
umwelt,
yeah,
umwelten, right? We may have to come up with some word like that.
exactly. I mean, no,
Some
I'm
made
serious.
up word.
I think we maybe we just call it beavering.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just want to call it beavering,
Right, we're gonna have to call it. We have to make up some word that makes sense, and
right?
or it doesn't make sense, so we can uh, clearly define it so that people don't get confused with the existing word.
Exactly. All right. Anyway, all right. Let's put a pin in this one, and I'm sure many more conversations to come around how we define this stuff. But thanks for joining, everyone. And the question that we can leave for you all is, what is your formula for happiness? If you
Or
don't
do you
have
even
one,
have one?
yeah, or if you have one, and if you don't, man, don't read this book to figure it out. All right.
I mean, it's a good book.
I don't know about that. Maybe when I'm like 90, after I figured out the universe of Chris, I'll turn my attention back to this stuff. But
All right.
I think my elephant does not align to this. All
Yep.
right,
This is where the power of the value is exceptional.
exactly. All right, have a good night, everyone.
Okay.
We'll see
Good
you
night.
tomorrow.
See you. Bye.